Morning readers. Today is launch day for Death's Charm, book number 13 in the Kenzie Kirsch Medical Thrillers series. And in this episode, then Kenzie's called to a car accident scene, finds out that the victim in the accident was a prominent kidney doctor that she knows through her family foundation. And Kenzie quickly realizes there's more to this death than meets the eye. As she digs into Dr. Markov's life, she discovers a world of corporate espionage, hidden secrets, and unethical medical practices. Kenzie becomes a target, and it's a race against time, with the stakes higher than ever before.
Candy says, I know my pulse was racing at times while I was reading it. So many suspenseful moments. I love this series. And Christmas Angel on Goodreads says, follow Kenzie in this exciting addition to a fantastic series. Highly recommend.
Okay, I've got a few short readings for you from Death's Charm. The accident scene was only a couple of blocks from the police building, which happened to house the medical examiner's office in the basement. They wouldn't have far to transport the body. With a gurney, Kenzie could easily have walked the body to the morgue. It was a spectacular wreck. Kenzie's stomach clenched when she saw it. She'd been in enough accident scenes before that it shouldn't bother her, but the sight of the smashed, upside-down vehicle still affected her. Dr. Kirsch, the young cop in charge of the scene, probably recognized Kenzie by her red convertible, and he didn't require her to show her badge. Looks like she managed to hit the center median at a pretty good velocity. It acted as a ramp, launching and spinning the car so it landed on its roof. He indicated both the place that it had hit the barrier, leaving bits of metal and glass behind, and then the car itself, which Kenzie didn't need pointed out. Okay, thanks. Paramedics have examined her? There was an ambulance standing by, red lights flashing. One of the paramedics was in the driver's seat, and the other was leaning against it, smoking. Obviously, there was nothing for them to do. They were just waiting for Kenzie to officially declare the death and send them on their way. Yeah, a head injury from being thrown around, maybe a broken neck. There wasn't anything they could do for her when they got here. Kenzie signed her name to the log, put on booties and gloves, and walked over to the lone car, upside down like a ladybug in the middle of the street. The streetlights reflected eerily off the road. Fire trucks stood by. There was no smell of gasoline, but the car was pretty wrecked, and they were probably waiting to cut the door free so that the victim could be removed. As it was, Kenzie had to access through the shattered driver's side window. She reached in and touched the woman's throat, probing for a pulse. As expected, there was none. The body was still warm. Not an hour had elapsed since the driver had been speeding down the street toward her doom. Kenzie didn't smell any alcohol, which surprised her. An accident like this was usually the result of drinking and driving. Kenzie withdrew her hand and surveyed the rest of the vehicle, looking at the damage to the body, the deflated airbag, and the unfortunate woman with a mask of blood. Kenzie's first reaction to the accident was visceral, a flashback to the accident she and Zachary had been in after their first date. While the cops had initially speculated it was the result of drunk driving, Zachary had not had anything to drink that night, and rarely did due to possible interactions with his medications. He didn't take his anti-anxiety prescription or sleep aids every night, but knew that he couldn't combine either of them with alcohol, so he rarely drank in case he would need to take one of them later. Rather than being the result of drinking and driving, that accident had been caused by someone tampering with Zachary's car. It, too, had landed upside down. Kenzie's memories of getting her seatbelt undone, extricating herself from the wreck, calling for help, and trying to comfort Zachary, who was in and out of consciousness, were astonishingly clear. It had taken a long time in very cold weather for the police and firefighters to arrive and cut Zachary free. His injuries had been much more severe than Kenzie's. She had some scrapes and bruises that had been sore for weeks, but he'd had a spinal injury and a concussion that had made for a couple of scary days before it became clear that the spinal cord had only been bruised and not permanently damaged. "Everything okay?" the young cop hovering behind, Kenzie asked. She turned and looked at him, pulling herself away from the flashback and focusing on the present. She looked at his name bar to remind herself who he was. Though she had seen him around the police station or parking lot, they'd not worked together. Daniels. Even while dealing with her emotional reaction to the crash and the memories that forced themselves into her consciousness, she also maintained a sense of the dispassionate clinical distance that was required to analyze the scene and the woman's body and to start to build a picture of the mechanics of her death. The victim was a tall, thin, white woman with dark hair pulled back in a bun. She wore a dress and simple jewelry and had probably been out on a date or at an event. Yes, everything's fine. Do you have an ID on the victim? She looks familiar. One of the problems with living in a small town was that Kenzie sometimes did know the victims who ended up on her table. She was sure, looking at the limp, bloody figure hanging upside down in the car, that she knew this woman. They'd previously met, though Kenzie wasn't sure where. It was sometimes difficult to recognize people in death. Faces obscured by blood, facial bones broken, with no animation. She sometimes had to work at it to find the similarities to the person she had known in life or was trying to identify from a picture. License plate is registered to a Maria Markov. Haven't been able to verify she's the victim, but the picture on her driver's license looks close enough. Maria Markov. Kenzie knew the name immediately. This is odd, Kenzie said, examining the bruising around Markov's shoulders and upper arms. Perimortem bruising. It had a chance to set in before she expired, so it was not from injuries sustained in the accident. Dr. Wiltshire leaned in to examine the bruising more closely, then brought the magnifying lens in for further examination. He nodded. There is inflammation, which would not be the case if it was sustained during the accident, and the location of the bruises is not consistent with a seatbelt or airbag injury. They look like restraint bruises, as if someone had been holding her still, both by grasping her upper arms and by holding or pushing against her shoulders. As she left the parking lot for Birch Valley, she noticed a black SUV with tinted windows behind her. Even though it was not the same profile as the vehicle that had previously been used to kidnap her, a white van with the interior stripped, it still sent her heart pumping hard and fast. It looked like the FBI or kidnapper vehicle in a thriller movie. But this was real life, and in real life it was just someone who wanted a roomy, comfortable interior and the sun's glare out of their eyes. At worst, it was a drug dealer who wanted to intimidate his buyers and competition, someone who didn't know well enough to keep a low profile. Kenzie kept her eyes on the road ahead, and didn't even look in her rear view mirror unless she had to. She was not going to let her imagination get away from her. She wasn't going to let herself have a panic attack over the sight of a truck that was not even like the one her kidnappers had driven. She was just going to drive home, like she would any other day, and Zachary was going to be there when she got home, and they were going to spend a pleasant evening with one another while they eased into the weekend. She got onto the highway and drove past the next couple of towns before finally allowing herself to look in the rear view mirror. And there was nothing suspicious. Nothing at all to worry about. No black SUV with tinted windows, no white van. Just other Vermont commuters making the trek from one town to the next as they thought about their weekends ahead. Kenzie let out a long sigh. She'd been right. It had just been a random black SUV. No one following her or out to get her for some reason. She was perfectly safe in her car, just as she had been every other time she'd driven the highway. The relief and the fact that she'd been holding her breath gave her a head rush, and for a few moments her vision was blurry and she felt a little lightheaded, even though she knew she wasn't going to pass out. For a split second she thought of Maria Markov, and how she must have felt during that last fateful ride. Had she felt woozy, blurry? Had she known that something was wrong, or had she thought it was just a normal ride, like any other, and had crashed without anticipating it? Had she been scared or disoriented for the last few minutes? Did she know the danger she had been in? Kenzie pecked at the buttons on the stereo. She needed to fill the car with loud, happy tunes to raise her spirit. She wasn't going to think morbid thoughts of Maria Markov all the way back to Roxborough. She had spent all day thinking of the woman and her mental state before she died. Now it was time to put aside all those dark thoughts and focus on other things. She rocked out, cranking up the stereo and speeding down the highway, though she wasn't technically speeding. She had no desire to get pulled over by the police or have to pay a ticket, or admit to Zachary that she had been speeding when she always told him to stick to the speed limit. As if conjured by her thoughts, blue flashing lights lit up her rear-view mirror, getting closer and closer, until the police car finally whipped past her on the left. Kenzie watched it go and glanced into her mirror again to ensure there weren't any others coming. She caught a glimpse of a black SUV in her mirror and caught her breath. Had it followed her after all? She slowed down, watching to see how it would react. After a few seconds, it signaled left and pulled out to pass her. Kenzie let out her breath again and watched it pass her. No tinted windows, not the same SUV at all. She was just being paranoid. If you love gripping thrillers that don't shy away from the dark side of human nature and complex medical mysteries, then Death's Charm is your next must-read. Get your copy today. Find it and more of my books at shop.pdworkman.com. Don't forget to check out launch day specials. You can get Unlawful Harvest, book 1 in the series, as an ebook for free today in my e-store at shop.pdworkman.com, and that comes with a special bonus pack that you can only get in my store. And you can get 50% off if you bundle books 1 through 10 together as ebooks. So check out shop.pdworkman.com. Thanks for your support and happy reading. Don't forget to check out launch day specials. You can get Unlawful Harvest, book 1 in the series, as an ebook for free today in my e-store at shop.pdworkman.com, and that comes with a special bonus pack that you can only get in my store. And you can get 50% off if you bundle books 1 through 10 together as ebooks. So check out shop.pdworkman.com. Thanks for your support and happy reading.